folks, this is the last quiz for the second semester. So this is quiz number 4, which will cover the Sacrament of Holy Orders. It'll be on this Thursday. There's going to be at least 3 insights in this audio video. So if you listen, you should have no problem on Thursday, and when you see a question, it won't look foreign to you, hopefully. All right. Concerning a diocesan priest, a secular priest, like Father Gene, do they take vows or do they make promises? And of the promises, what 2 do they make? As far as the common priesthood, is the common priesthood of all believers, is each person a mediator between God and man? So compare that with other priesthoods. You should know the answer to that pretty simply. Let's see, I also talked about the fact that only men were called to the priesthood, and I mentioned about Christ being culturally conditioned. In other words, did he have to go with the customs concerning the roles of man and woman in his day? Yes or no? Here's a little bit of an insight. Did Jesus actually encourage his apostles to get married, or did he encourage them to stay single? Or did he say nothing about it? It's the third thing, guys. All right. Even if the fact that all people who are baptized participate in the priestly mission of Christ, which means that we are priests, right? So remember that. Priest, prophet, and king by our baptisms. But as far as priestly service, that's not like the mission, but I'm talking actually being a priest. Out of bishop, priest, and deacon, only 2 of those actually participate in a priestly service. And as far as the bishops, they are direct successors of the apostles, so make sure you know that. You should also know that a deacon can celebrate 2 sacraments, that a priest can celebrate 5 sacraments, and the bishop can celebrate all 7. So he has the fullness of the priesthood. Here's another insight. In the early church, when the apostles, even when they appointed priests, there was a lot of material needs that the local church needed that they could not do because it would take them away from preaching the word. So what they did was they appointed deacons. So that is the beginning of the diaconate. Make sure you know that. You should know what the material and formal causes of the Sacrament of Holy Orders are. And you should also know which ones of the priests, deacons, or bishops, which ones are co-workers with the bishop. Here's another insight. In the Old Testament, there were ministerial priests, but there were 12 tribes, but it was only from the tribe of Levi that they were called. You know that one? You'll do fine. All right. Now, if a person wants to be a priest, do they have a right? And if they do not have a right, what qualities must they have? And I did list a few of those. Make sure you can pick those out in a question. You should also know the definition for the Sacrament of Holy Orders. I'll leave a couple blank spaces and you'll have to fill it in. I also talked about the sacraments which leave an indelible mark. In other words, it's permanent. I mentioned 3 of them. Make sure you know what those 3 are. Here's another insight. I didn't talk to you about ordinary ministers of the Eucharist. That, of course, would be priests and deacons and bishops. But there are also what is known as extraordinary ministers of communion. Sometimes they're not referred to correctly, but they are also called Eucharistic ministers, but they are correctly called extraordinary ministers of the Eucharist. Those are laity, and it could be a man or a woman, so make sure you know that. All right, so you should know what the terms presbyteroi, episcopoi, and diakoni line up with. That should be pretty easy for you, all right? You should also know what the word ordo refers to, and also what the word minister refers to. I covered those early on. And as I said in the beginning, you should know who can celebrate all 7 sacraments. You should know who can only celebrate 5, and you should know who can only celebrate 2. So you get all those, you're going to do great in the matching section. God bless you guys. I hope you do well, and study hard.